And welcome everybody. It's Photo Talk Friday, and it gives us a chance to just stretch out and talk a little bit about whatever we want to talk about here on Photo Talk Friday. We don't do a lot of gear reviews. Obviously, we might have somebody come on and give us a gear review someday. That would be fun. I don't do a lot of gear reviews because I'm really not all that interesting in it. Um, I'm kind of a minimalist. And because of that minimalist thinking, I've been wondering, I'm always telling people do personal projects, right? And we all think about personal projects. And I know my brain goes to a big project. Like I'm going to cover this, 15-day road trip, or I'm going to go cover bicyclists in the Arizona desert or whatever. I started thinking, well, what if as a minimalist, what if they're minimal projects? What if all you did was one of the ideas I thought of that I thought would be cool is you have 20 things that you're going to throw out, right? Do a photograph of them before you throw them away. Great project. You didn't want to throw them away, so make a photograph of them so you can remember them and then get them out of your garage kind of thing.
That's exactly what I was going to do, Dawn. I moved to this place. I just got my pod the other day. I have all the stuff. My house is filled. And I'm like, I'm going to take photos of these because I want to, but then I want the space. So I'm going to get rid of them.
Yep. Yep. I was quite taken with Dan Milner's little video where he said, just make one. He's talking about books. So I started thinking of these projects. Now, if you did all those pictures, Veronica, of the stuff that you're throwing out, well, there's really only two things we can do. We can like leave them on the computer, right? And share them digitally. Or we could make prints out of them. And then we have a little box of prints. But you know what we're going to do with those prints? Never look at them. We're never going to open it. But what if you just sent them off to Blurb and made a book? A book you can
Yeah,
put on your mantle. You can put it up there. It's a little book. You're not doing it for sale. You're not doing it for anything other than what a great way to show a selection of images that you can hold in your hand. You don't, instead of making a ton of prints of them. It
right.
blew me away. I started doing it, and then I backed off from it when I started getting traditional publishing gigs. And I flipped on that this week big time. I've already got two books ready to go to Blurb, just little
Yeah.
ones, just for
That's,
me.
yeah, that's interesting because a lot of this stuff, my mom passed away in 2011. And so I gave away a lot of things already. But I still have some of her things, like all these tiny little perfume bottles that are her. I mean, I just unpack them and I'm like, you smell them, and it's like, oh my God, that's my mom.
Yeah,
But I don't necessarily want to put them in a curio thing and up on my wall. I that's not part of me, but I'd love to be able to capture these images because they would remind me of my mother. Um, and I have other things of hers that I'm like, okay, she's going to be all right if I get rid of it.
hmm,
To take the photo, like you say, you remember it. You go back and you remember it.
right, right. And if let's say that maybe you have 30 items that really is your mom, and you make the images, and you take your time and you make really beautiful natural light window or whatever you do. Well, like I say, we're going to put them in a box. Now we've got a box that we have to store where we store boxes. And you know what's in boxes, folks? Stuff we don't need, stuff we don't look at, stuff. Or you can make prints. I don't know how big your new house is, but I'm guessing 30 prints of your mother's stuff up on the wall is going to take up most of the house.
It is,
Yeah,
and I have different ideas for the walls, different
right.
prints for the walls. So yeah, I never thought of a book.
And
I think
for
that's a great idea. Then
if
I
you
could give it
made
as a gift for like a cousin who's just as
absolutely
feminine as my mother, and it would be just a little something,
a
you know.
30 page, 8 by 9 or
Mhm.
8 by 10 um, trade book in color, nicely printed in color, is less than an 11 by 14 print.
Oh, okay.
It's
Right.
almost like it's almost. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm thinking I'm really really serious. I might be making one a week. You know,
Right.
why not?
Right.
Dan does something cool. He takes some of his favorite pictures, puts them in the blurb has this thing called journal. You can pick um, grid spaces, lines, or dots for your pages. So he'll print some of his pictures in there, maybe 20 pictures in a 40-page thing. Then he uses it for his journal until it's all filled up. And he writes over the pictures and makes his sketches and everything. He's been journaling for a long, long, long time. He's got hundreds of journals. But what a great idea. What a great gift that would make.
Right.
But back in the day, I made this book when I went to Maine. I spent a week in Maine and I came out and I printed this book. I believe it's just one image per page, if I remember right. Yep, it's just one image per page per spread. And it's these are pictures from Maine. And I printed this over at Artifact Uprising. Um, no, it's not one pictures per page. I'm sorry, we've got some double pages here. It's been so long since I looked at it, but it's up on my shelf. Now, all of these exist as prints because I've told you guys I make 5x7 prints of everything that I want to keep. I have boxes of 5x7 prints and um, 6x9 prints on 8.5x11 paper. That's my preferred size. So I have boxes of them. But to grab this book off the shelf today for this, I was like, this is cool. This is, I think it's cooler now than when I made it because now it's been, I want to say 6 years, 7 years since I did this trip. And I'm forgetting some of the images, and I open it up and go, oh yeah, I remember that. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I however, can tell you, and this is just me, and I don't care how far back you go, I can tell you what I was doing when I took the picture. I can remember these pictures bring back more than just a picture of this. Was me and Charles at this it was a dollar swap place. Everything was a dollar. Everybody was selling their like a what do you call it, garage sale, community garage sale, some little town up in Maine. And this guy had all these bottles here. Everything was a buck. So I didn't want to bring a bottle back. So I took a picture of it. And I love the picture. It's a beautiful picture in 6x9. I love it. But here it is in the book, and I can remember everything. I remember the conversation. I can remember the way it smelled. I can remember, all these quirky people. If you've ever heard stories about people in Maine being kind of quirky and a little bit different, oh, it's so true.
Yes,
It's
it
so
is.
true. Nice, really nice, but always, yeah, you have never been given directions until you're given directions by someone in Maine. We're sitting there, stopped on the side of the road. I'm looking at the map. This was before, this was when, this isn't when Charles and I were there. This was many years before when it was Bree and I on a workshop. We were in Portland, Maine, and we were lost because, see, I'm from the West. The roads go east or they go north and south. In Maine, they go, you can go in every direction. So this nice woman is coming out of a store, and I said, "Excuse me, can you tell us where this crossroad is?" And she goes, "Oh, sure. Okay, first of all, go up to the street here, and then you go that way 2 or 3 miles until you get to." I'm like, 2 or 3 miles. So is there any? There's no room for error, right? Between two, it's not like 2.5 miles, right? It's 2 or 3 miles. She goes, then you make a left and you go down by the big red building, and the second building on the left, I think, could be on the right. Okay.
But if you went by Uncle Bob's fish
Yeah,
store, you went too far.
that's
You gotta
right.
turn
That's
around and go
right.
back
That's
down
right.
the road.
She goes, if you get to the
When
railroad
you
tracks, you went too far. So turn around. I'm like, okay, thank you very
when you
much.
get to the fork in the road where the tree's been cut down, it looks like a bear that's scratching in the dirt.
Yeah.
I'm laughing
Uh,
because that's where I'm from.
I
For
don't
people that
do,
don't know.
yeah, I don't do north, south, east, west. Forget it.
You ever notice though, when you're getting direct, or people are so nice up there when you're not from the area, it almost throws you off. You're like,
Oh, it's
when
yeah,
people are too nice, you're like, what
really,
the?
really a unique part of our country, Maine, and I would say probably Vermont. Kind of a unique place. There's not a lot of unique places anymore. People in Atlanta are pretty much like people in Dallas, which are pretty much like people in LA, kind of thing. But you get up into those little towns. The same with Montana. If you're up in the middle of nowhere in Montana, you'll meet some really, really nice, quirky, fun individuals. So, what do you guys think
If
about these
I was
mini
going to say, if you're from New York, you don't do north and south either. You do uptown or downtown.
Right, right. But the roads are on a grid.
Yeah.
I'm serious. In Maine, there's a road that goes from Old Orchard, Maine to Portland. It goes north, then it goes west, then it goes east, then it goes south, then it goes west, then it goes north. And you kind of go, wait a minute, didn't I come on this crossroad like at 15 minutes ago, but I was going that way? Just
Yeah, Route One
it's-
North goes northeast all the way up the coast, but it is
which one's that?
Route One.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, that was an interesting story too. A week before, I had been on Highway 1 from Oregon up to Washington. My wife, my daughter, and I, Highway 1. And then a week later, Charles and I are in Maine doing Highway 1 up the East Coast. That was pretty fun. Just think about all the creative things you could do if you weren't focused on the big, instead going to the little. Chase Jarvis had a great post that I linked over at Facebook, where he was talking about getting over the portfolio, just doing away with the whole idea of portfolio and just shooting the pictures that you love. I can remember decades in my life where I probably wouldn't have taken the picture if I couldn't have put it in my portfolio. I was so portfolio obsessed my first 20 years in this business, 15 years in the business. I was a fashion photographer. I was a beauty photographer. And the thought of shooting sunrises or desert scapes were like, no, I only shoot beautiful women. That's all I shoot. I wish I had those years back, because I would do something different. But now I find myself occasionally thinking, well, what would I do? And then I stop myself and I go, I don't care if I do anything with it. I'm going to take that picture, because that's what I do. That's what we are. We're photographers. We just take pictures. Imagine the difference between shooting a portfolio, getting out and saying every shot I'm going to do for the next 45 days is for my portfolio, versus shooting for 45 days, going back in the pictures and choosing the ones you want to put in your portfolio. I don't know, and I'm going to be very honest, I don't know which way would net you the most commercial portfolio, but I could tell you which one you love more. And if you're doing what you love, the work will come. I really believe that.
I was beginning to feel that way about my Instagram. I started to curate it, and then it got boring. I'm like, oh, what am I going to put on it? I just want to put the stuff that this is what I felt like today.
Why not? Why aren't you?
Yeah, well, I actually opened up a different account just to do that, just to put whatever the hell I see and I like and I shoot. And that's more fun to post for that than it is for my regular Instagram.
It is. We get curated heavy. And it's interesting to me to see that this is the third touch that I've had in 2 weeks about getting away from the norm. Dan Milner talks about it. Dan he's amazing. Isn't he, Carmen? You're muted. Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Because of you telling me about that, Don, I ended up binge watching for about an hour and a half.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
He's got one on a book. He has a new one on this woman with her landfill dogs.
Yeah.
And how that whole process of building the book and how she thought, and I'm like, yes, yes, this works.
What I love about it, Dan, is he talks about photographs more than he talks about photography.
Interesting.
Because photography is what? It's bidding jobs, selling jobs, building your portfolio, doing this, doing that, doing that, doing that. And all. So it's big marketing. We got marketing, we have social media. Photographs are a little picture of the lighthouse
Just
building.
pictures, just pictures.
Just the picture.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, this is all I would talk about. I've said this before, and no offense to the three gentlemen that are here. And I think you guys probably would agree with me. I'm not a big, identity politics person. I don't care who made the picture. If it's a good picture, it's great. I can't tell if the person who took the picture is a Black, transgendered, whatever. It's just a really good picture. I don't care about the other part. But I will tell you that when you're hanging around a group of photographers, the conversations usually, and that's a big usually, women talk about photographs and men talk about photography.
Mm.
Both of those groups are very knowledgeable in each other's thing. You're not talking a bunch of guys who talk about photography who don't know anything about photographs. They just don't do it. And the women are technically as good as anybody. They got their shit together, but they'd rather sit and talk about the emotions, the feelings, the photographs themselves, how they affected them and other people around them than guys do. I would rather sit with the girls, because that's what I love to talk about, are the pictures. When somebody starts going off on the newest Canon camera, I'm kind of lost, because it's, I got 6Ds. That's it. I'm done. I don't care, because I can't really justify at this point in my life with what I'm doing. I can't justify going out and buying an R6. If I win the lottery, I'm going to go out and buy a R6. You understand what I'm saying? In a heartbeat. But right now, it's like, no, there's other things. I'm really interested in the photography. And Dan has kind of opened my eyes back up again. You can do this. I talked myself out of it. You all know I've traditionally published author, right? I've been with Amherst Media and I've written those books. They were disaster financially. They're disaster. Writing 3 books in 2 years damn near killed me. I had a thrombosis thing in my leg. I was in the hospital and they told me I was going to die because I sat at this chair and I wrote 3 books, plus doing Project 52, plus being a photographer. I sat for hours at a time. And I don't want to do that anymore. I really don't want to do that. So now I'm thinking, why not take little things? Lauren, they have in Kansas City, they have every year, I know they have a big barbecue cook-off kind of thing, right?
Yes, American Royal.
American Raw, right. What a great project. And you know what's really great about it? How many of you guys are grandparents?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's really great about grandchildren? They go home. I love my grandchildren. They come over and visit Papa. We have a great time and the whole bit. Papa never says no. Papa, can I have another ice cream? Absolutely, child. That's too much sugar. She'll be up all night. Yeah, not here.
Not here.
But the nice thing about that barbecue as a project, Lauren, it's one day. Just think about that.
It's actually 3 days. It's actually a weekend.
But even if it's a weekend, it's just one weekend.
Yeah.
You go, you shoot the project, you make a little book out of it. You make 4 or 5 prints for your print thing. You may end up with a story for your website or not, but it's there. You do it and it's over. Instead of having it be like fall in the Midwest. Well, that's a great project. And I would encourage everybody to do that. but that's a 3-month project. You know, Dan talks about projects he's been doing for 2 or 3 years. Nothing wrong with those, that all of us should be doing that. But at the same time, I was playing with blocks with my granddaughter, and we have a little sand thing in the back. I was dropping the blocks into the sand. I make the sand smooth and drop the block. And every time you drop the little block into the sand, it would make a new spray of sand. And it was late in the day and the light was pretty cool. And I'm thinking, what if I took the blocks, dropped them in the sand, 25 or 30 times, had some strobes going off at different angles. This could be a really cool shot, getting the sand flying away. But it would be a project that I would do for an hour and it would be over. And yet it could be really, really cool. So, I would encourage all of you. And again, that whole idea of being able to make a book, an 8x10 book or a 5x8 book for less money than an 11x14 print shipped to you from, Bay Photo or something, is really intriguing. My friend Jeannie Newhall is a musician. She sent me a set of poems. When did we print this? I don't think we put a date on it. I think we did that on purpose. She has these poems in here, and I illustrated them with my very first ever iPhone. All these are iPhone shots on a two megabyte iPhone. I think it was an iPhone 2 or iPhone 3 or something. They just picked, these are the Chihoulis up in Vegas. And cactus here in my yard. And I tried to make the poems go along, the pictures go along with the poems. And, I picked it up off the library this morning in my living room. And I looked at it and I go, I can remember being here, taking that picture on the iPhone and going, oh my God, that's so cool on the iPhone. I can't believe it. Now I look at it and I go, yeah, boy, that's grainy. But that's okay. It's really cool. This is up in the Seattle mountains, and her poems are really, really fun. I don't know if you guys write poetry. I write poetry. I have a book of poetry that I did without illustrations, and I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to illustrate it. Just send it off
Nice.
to Blurb and get it, But I was saying that there's this thing in the air going on right now. Dan Milner is talking about doing stuff just for 3 main reasons: for the fun of doing it, just a blast. Carmen has done 2 books now of her lady friend, and you look at the books, she's having a blast. She just had a blast. You had a blast putting the books together. You just, it just feels really great. The second reason is to do something and complete it. We all end up with these incomplete projects that I think they're like blocks of stone we carry around, right? And number 3, you put your art out into the world. All of you people are artists. Your art needs to be out in the world.
I think after I did those books, because I had that deadline that I needed to execute on, and then listening to Dan, I'm like really excited about going through my work. I have lots of these little mini projects already in my files that I haven't done anything with. And now, like, I have a reason. And people are looking at the books that I now have, and they're like, wow, this is really cool. You should make a print of this. You should make a big print of this. People are giving me really positive feedback. And it's really encouraging to not be in the photography part of what you're talking about versus being in the love part.
And the photographs
the
part.
images.
In the images part. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, that's love. The other part isn't,
Well, I'm big on marketing. I'm just really big on marketing.
Yeah. But
and I think marketing has to be part of your job as a photographer. But I'm also, and you've heard me say this, Carmen, I've also said sometimes marketing isn't fun.
Yeah, I
It's just-
know.
sometimes it's just
Sometimes.
not fun.
I know. Yeah, but I tell myself, like I said, I'm of an age that I can do what I want, and I want to have fun.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah.
I'm
And we're
with you.
also at an age that we can look around, and I think Mark, I think I told Mark to do this, but you can also go on Fiverr and say, find somebody and say, develop a list of 300 names for me, and I'll pay you $1 a name.
Mhm.
And I live in Columbus, Ohio. Get me 300 solid leads, and I'll get. Now, to some kid in Bangladesh or in southern Russia who speaks English, $300, trust me, folks, $300 is life-changing for them. They will do a good job and get you a good list. And even if they're only 2/3, that person still get you 200 names for 300 lousy dollars. If you've ever tried to put a list together, $300 is dirt cheap compared to doing the misery of trying to put a list together, right? Just fun ideas to think about. But yes, when you're doing it, that's the thing. So the second thing that was in the wind was this Chase Jarvis thing. He's saying, let's, instead of worrying about your portfolio, he's very careful to say, of course you've got to have a portfolio. I'm not saying don't have a portfolio. Of course you've got to have it tightly. But if all you're doing is focusing on shooting for it, you're missing all of those other opportunities that are in front of you. That is why we started this business to begin with. Nobody woke up one day and say, I can't wait to be in a business where I spend 80% of my time marketing and 20% of my time doing what I love. But in photography, that's pretty much the way it goes, if that's all you do. But if you think of your photography business as 80% marketing and 20% shooting, but your life as a photographer is 100% shooting, that's a whole lot more palatable. Whole lot more palatable. And the third thing is Srinivas Rao's book, Audience of One. And he's been encouraging, this is a book I read probably 6 months ago. His whole thing is just do it for you. You are the most important audience. Just take that photograph of that rose with the dew on it. That is the most cliched photograph. In fact, when you think of a rose with a dewdrop on it, you go to Wikipedia, that's the shot that's right there. It's so cliche that we all know the shot in our head. Do it anyway, because it's yours. I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about, what's it called? Big Bend.
Big Bend, Texas?
No, the one up on the Grand Canyon, the Horseshoe Bend.
Oh,
Horseshoe
I
Bend.
thought you were talking about the one in London, Big Ben.
That's where I was going.
Bend.
Big Bend. It's right in Page, so it's near a very big, pretty good sized town, and it's a destination town. People go there for the river, they go there for the lake, they go there for the slot canyons. It's really fun place to be. But right there is Horseshoe Bend, and that's the Colorado River, which only about a half mile up is dammed by the Glen Canyon Dam. So you're only about a half mile from the dam. So the water is very turquoise because it's coming out at the bottom of the dam, right? And it just circles around. And you guys have all seen the shot. Now, here's the thing. If you go there, you'll know why there's only really one view of the dam, of Horseshoe thing, because there's only one view of it. And they've got benches to sit and everything. There'll be 150, 200 people there on a August evening, taking essentially the same image. Now, part of me wants to go, I don't want to, I'm looking around going, these people are taking this image. I don't want to take this picture. But the other part of me goes, why the hell not? That's probably not going to be in my portfolio, even though one of them is in my portfolio. Probably not be in my portfolio, but it's cool. And I've been there 5 times and I've always taken a picture that I liked. Maybe not that I would go and share. I've heard photographers say, I'm never going to go on the Slot Canyon tours anymore because they just herd them through like cattle. And I think your loss. Your loss. Yes, those shots are pervasive. Yes, I have far too many shots of Antelope Canyon. I can't help it. It's just beautiful. And I guarantee you, if Mark and Lauren and Denise and Veronica and Carmen and Luke and Terry all walked through Upper Antelope Canyon and they came back and I said, show me one picture, none of you would have the same picture.
Mm-mm.
Why, why not? This is a little book I got from Artifact Uprising, and I use their template machine. So there's a whole lot of pictures in here, a whole bunch of pictures. But these are just pictures from the American West, I call it. I'll set it down there while I'm thinking. And I think this thing cost me like $12 or something. It was so inexpensive, and I love it. And my wife will come out. I find my wife looking at it a couple times, going, "Well, where was this again?" Texas on this side, Santa Fe, New Mexico, or Taos, New Mexico on this side, just out west. Why not? So here's a thought. We've got 9 photographers here today. How about a month from now when we meet, we all have a little book to share? What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's all make a little book in the next month. Just a little book.
Sure. Since I've lived here, let me show you. Can you see that? A grove is right in front of my place.
Wow. And where are you now, Veronica?
Napa.
Napa. Okay.
Oh,
Great.
nice.
And there are, I tell you, I was greeted by the squirrel. He just sat up. He's like, oh, hello. You're my neighbor. I swear to God, he was like just really communicating with me, like, welcome. Oh, I see you got a little dog with you, that type of stuff. That's how my head goes when I have conversations with animals, But this squirrel comes on this one branch, sits and he eats. And I tried to get a picture, but I don't really shoot animals that are so fast, and it was windy, so I was kind of worried. But it made me think, especially with this conversation, I have to do a little book about this little squirrel who just comes and climbs all over and does all this stuff. And also there's so many different kinds of birds here. I didn't think I'd want to, take pictures of birds, but it could be just a really interesting thing to set up my stuff. Plus that's a trail that's right there.
So you're going to see all kinds of animals.
I could,
deer.
People walking. Yeah, deer are coming.
Yeah.
From what I understand, right in front of my place.
And you're on your back porch, right?
I'm on the front porch.
You're on the front. Okay. There's your project.
Yeah.
The book is called From My Front Porch. And the box you put around it is, you've got to be on your front porch when you take the picture.
Oh, right.
You could use your porch to frame the picture. You could go reach out with a 400 millimeter lens if you wanted to, but all pictures. Now that would probably be over a year, spend a year.
Yeah, because I've been envisioning capturing, because people walk with their dogs, and just capturing the dog with the feet of the people.
Yeah.
And then I could put a flash over there. Now this is daylight, in the evening or morning, put a little flash to pop a little light on there or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure I would flash the people with their dogs. That could really confuse them.
True.
But the deer, would be cool.
But then that would be.
And what is your problem with that? So what if they're confused?
Afterward. Well, not directly. It's something, to get a little light, because it gets too. I faced east, so it can get dark. I've tried, but yeah, I've thought about that sitting here.
Or you could just totally disavow the knowledge of the flash.
I could have my computer be tethered, have the, and see what's here, so people don't even know. That sounds
And
really
if they
creepy.
say something, you can say, yeah, I flashed you. You got a problem with that? Yeah, see, that's a great idea. It's
Yeah.
just a great idea.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be fun, you know. I could even face my porch, you know. Maybe. We'll see. It's my project. I'll describe it. I could even do, you know, short term and then long term of
Mhm.
of the squirrel. The squirrel in a year. What did you do? You know.
Mhm.
2 winters ago, my wife and I went up to Pagosa Springs, Colorado. It was right after a snowstorm. So we had blue skies and literally 0 degrees temperature. It was right at zero, which for two two little old folks from Phoenix was really cold. That was cold. But we had our gloves on and everything. And I'd take my glove off to make a picture. You know how fast your hand freezes at zero? Pretty darn quick. I put it back in my glove. But they were having the annual um, pet parade, which happens on that day every year. It's usually a mild day. This time it was not mild, but they came out anyway. They had dogs and tutus and little booties for their feet, and they had horses and pigs and everything. Came out and did the thing anyway. And I really regretted not shooting that more. Um, but honestly, my hands were. I have shooter's gloves. You know what shooter's gloves are? Their finger couldn't come through. My finger
Yeah.
was frozen anyway. I was like, oh, that's not going to work. I was just too cold. But it's haunted me because it would have been a really cool bunch of images to make right there in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Very cool. Minimalism. Excuse me. Minimalism is kind of what we're talking about in a way, right? Um, I'm kind of a minimalist in how I shoot. Although if you counted my speed lights, you might disagree with the whole minimalism thing. I have way too many lighting pieces. But I'm very much.
That's
What's that?
I was going to say that's funny because I'm also working towards living a minimalist lifestyle. Yet, because I'm getting into product photography, you can't. So
No,
I'm just making
there's
sure that my
that's
personal life
very true.
is,
That's
yeah,
very
I'm making
true.
sure that, yeah, I'm making sure that my personal life, I don't have a lot. But then I'm like, okay, if I buy this, it's for product photography.
Yep.
And I'm
So,
going to justify no matter what, what I
but
buy.
but photography is your business.
Right.
Photographing is your life. So you could be a minimalist photographer, and on that, when you go out to shoot in and around Napa, maybe you've got one camera, one lens. That's it. Or maybe you shoot just film when you're out, just very minimalistic. But yes, your business, we need everything that we need in the business. We need because we need it. There's no, you know, a tilt shift lens for a product photographer is not an extravagant like, oh, that's a cool toy. It's not a toy. You're going to use it all the dang time.
Right.
Stands. My mantra is there's a limit to how many stands you need, and it's one more than you currently own, whatever that number is.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I'm talking about the dishes and the napkins and
mhm.
that type of stuff. You know, they have a junk market coming out, but it's a little far. But I'm okay with that because I would spend probably too much and my house would be filled. I don't want to
We
keep it so
we
filled.
go to the like the Salvation Army type stores and get dishware there. That's why I've been going, because most of the stuff that you see in photographs, you don't want anything that's brand new and super shiny anyways. I mean, for
Right.
certain things, but a
Yeah.
lot of it they want the aged and patina, and you can get so much stuff cheap.
Right. Right.
And another Veronica, another way
We
to
have a
look
little
at it.
town just not too far from me uh, that their main drag has got like 6 antique shops and secondhand, shops. They sell wooden window frames. They sell all kinds of different woods, all kinds of different handmade, antique napkins, placemats, things like that. It's just a treasure trove of stuff, and it's really inexpensive. I have to make sure that I go there with a purpose, get what I need, and get out.
Right. Yeah.
But one of the things, Rhonda, that can help it make it be more palatable to go to that place and pick up $30 worth of junk dishes and stuff is if you use them at least once. So the thing is, I'm going to go there, I'm going to buy what I want, not any more than what I want. But then within the next month or 6 weeks, I'm going to do a shot on every dish, everything. So at least you make a use of them. You may find out that, well, this one doesn't really work all that well. Great. Get rid of it, take it to the next show, swap it for something, that type of thing. I think where I get in trouble is I buy stuff thinking I'm going to use it, and then I don't use it right away. And then it gets boxed up and it sits and I forget about it. That's how I ended up getting too much stuff in my garage, that very same way.
Well, I'm limited right now because of my hip and knees. I have osteoarthritis. So walking, that's my challenge right now. So that's why.
I'm with you.
What?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So that's why I Facebook market and, watch online and stuff like that.
I have an idea about extending the use of some of the dishes. I was seeing how you could paint your dishes with a matte or a chalk kind of paint and mix in it baking soda? No, baking powder. Mix baking powder in it, and then that kind of gives it a grainy texture. And it at least is a matte texture, even if you don't put that in there. And let's say you've got a couple of plates you bought for 50 cents a piece. You've used them once or twice. You're tired of them. You paint them. And you can even paint them a color that goes along with the color scheme that you're wanting to work with.
Oh,
So
that's
I picked up a couple that were just, really cheap ones that I'm expecting I'm going to paint. And they're thick pieces, they're ironstone, so that I'm hoping that after I paint them, that they'll look a little bit more wabi-sabi, a little bit more handmade, maybe even slop some paper clay on it or something, to give it a little texture and something like that. Just a little DIY to reuse what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take very well to the swap meet after that. You probably, it needs to be something pretty cheap that you don't mind essentially ruining.
I remember reading a blog by a food photographer named Jamie, and I can't remember Jamie's last name. I apologize for that. But they said they try to use a plate or dish no more than once or twice for a job. Might use it again for a portfolio, but if they've used it twice for different clients, they'll retire it or trade it in or sell it and get something new.
Wow. All right.
Well, there's no doubt that you go through that stuff a lot. Now for your portfolio, that's really great. And Judy has, if you haven't seen Judy's little studio, it's
In Castro Valley?
Yeah.
In the Bay Area? Yeah.
Yeah. She's got walls of plates and stuff. And she keeps track of who she's used them for and how many times she's used them. Because if you have something really amazing and you get rid of it and another client comes along and says, remember that shot that you did we want to use that, and then you're in trouble. Don't buy anything with painted floral designs on it unless you're only planning to use it one time, because it's too recognizable. Right now at the dollar store up the street here, they're selling a light mauve plate and a turquoisey blue plate. They're just plain plates. They're gorgeous for $1. Gonna pick up one of those.
So does this person, Judy, does she like take a picture of the image, have a page, and then write down? Okay.
She has a little 3-ring notebook so they can go through it. She's got there's a number on it. She knows where the number, otherwise it would be a mess. Now there are photographers who have a mess. There are photographers who have it's everything there. And they say to the client, well, let's just go through the racks. Judy is very, she's I don't know if she was that way much before COVID, but you've got to be that way now with COVID, because your client may not even be in the same state as you are. And they say, well, do you have, plates? And yeah, we have 340 plates. Here's the link. Go click on the link, and they're all in a Dropbox, or they're all in an Adobe web page with just all you need is thumbnails this big, right? And they can go through. We want number 4475 and number 4478.
So does she take the inventory on white background?
Yes. Yeah. Just do it as plain as possible.
Have you looked at Judy's work, Veronica? You know who we're talking about, Judy?
Yeah. I used to live in Castro Valley, and I was like, oh my God, she's like practically a neighbor.
Yeah.
But that was, I had moved out of Castro Valley, but I saw her webpage and I saw her videos and things like that. And I was like, oh, she's something.
Yeah, she's a workhorse.
Yeah.
Mark, do you remember her last name?
How do you spell it?
Doherty.
Doherty, Doherty, Judy Doherty.
Okay, well, when I bought a China hutch when I was here because I wanted something to house my props,
Mhm.
and I could see them easily, and they don't get so dusty because they're close. So I will have to do a white background just for inventory,
Yep.
and then I can play with that and with lights and shadows, each one.
Well, and I would even say, Veronica, just use your iPhone or your phone. You don't have to set your camera up.
Sucks. My phone really sucks. I have a old i5, and the camera looks terrible, and I can't get any apps on it because I forgot the password on there, and I have a
Time
loss.
for a new one.
I don't know.
This was free. Look,
Yeah,
this was
and-
free. So I really just use my phone for text, and then some navigation just so I can get through town where I don't know where I am.
Sure.
I'm trying to really be minimalist all the way around in my life. It's kind of nice. Except you have to explain that to many people,
Yeah.
Just another app.
Yeah.
Can I point out something a little ironic? I'm glad you're talking about minimalism and smaller projects today, but I've been preoccupied by the 24 photos in May on film. And to me, that's a big project.
Now, in what way is it a big project?
Well, let's see. I don't have a film camera, but I'm thinking about getting one. I'm not opposed to buying one. So that means a little research. $200-300 on a camera and a lens is doable for film. And then 24 photos on top of what we're already doing in Project 52, which takes a good deal of my time, which I love, but it's like, that seems like a big project. So I'm having a hard time now thinking about something small because I'm kind of trying to get myself geared up for doing the 24 in 1 month. It's just an ironic juxtaposition.
But you know what?
But I guess it doesn't seem so big to you.
No, because what I would tell you to do, Denise, is to, do you live in an interesting neighborhood?
Oh, an interesting town, at least. Yeah.
Well, Albuquerque is an interesting town. And
Yeah.
I could spend months there just photographing the architecture. So maybe you just go downtown to Old Town 2 different Saturdays and shoot 12 pictures. The point
I could do
the point is that the pictures, when we pick up a 35 millimeter digital camera, we have a tendency to, this is how the modern photographer, that's cool. That's cool. Click, 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 click. With
Oh
24
yeah.
frames of May, you put that camera on a tripod and you look through it. You go, okay, I'm going to move it over here a little bit. Or maybe, yeah, that's not the shot. And you put it away. You don't take the picture. So it forces us to, just as if you were out with an 8x10 camera and you had 6 film holders with you, which are huge film holders if you know an 8x10 camera. Right?
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean they're big, they're heavy, they're this big, and there's one piece of film on each side. Well, if we go out with this sort of 35 millimeter mentality, we're going to be done by the time our tripod isn't going to be warmed up from the sun, and we've gone through 12 shots. So
what is this
treat it.
project? I've been out of the loop. What's this?
It's in every May we do a thing for all the Project 52 people. It's called 24 Frames in May.
Is that what's happening in March right now too?
No, in May.
Okay.
And then that's one roll of film, 35 millimeter film.
Oh, but it's film. I don't.
Yeah, and if you're shooting 120, like a medium format camera, it's 2 rolls. So, but the point is to, instead of coming back with 24 frames that you shot one thing with it from 24 angles, come back with 24 nearly totally unique images that are good. So we're going to go, we've all heard that story, SD card, 1,000 images, 2 are good, right? And then they got the smaller SD card, 250 images, 2 were good. They have a roll of film, 36 images, 2 were good. 24 images, 2 were good. 12 images, 2 were good. That's where we want to be. Because if you can take 2 good images out of a roll of 120, then why do we take 1,000 digital images? We get sloppy in our head, and we get sloppy with our technique, and we start believing crap like we can fix it later in Photoshop. Well, yeah, probably we can in most things, many things, but why not just take the time to do it right? I'll tell you, it's really enlightening. Denise, what kind of cameras do you shoot?
Well, I shoot a Canon. I have a Canon EOS R that I'm shooting, and I have a couple of older Canon digital cameras.
Yep.
I don't have a film camera right now, except for an Oma Maya that I don't even know if it works. It just came with I got it on eBay with a lens, and I wanted the lens, and the camera and the lens were about $35. And then I have so I don't have one that I know works. So, but I do have a small collection of vintage lenses. And so I think it'd be fun to do this project with some of the vintage lenses and pick up an older camera. So I have Olympus lenses, I have Canon FD, and I have Pentax M. And so I have a kind of a variety of lengths. And I think I have a total of about 9 or 10 lenses. So whichever one of those cameras I picked up, I could have 2 or 3 lenses to play with.
Yeah, here's a Canon EOS Elan, which is a beautiful autofocus camera on eBay, 4-star rated seller for $50.
Oh yeah, I can find one cheap.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that one would use my EF lenses. It would use my modern lenses.
No, this is an old camera.
Oh, it uses the FD lenses.
Yeah.
The Canon FD lenses.
Yeah. It's not.
It's
the bayonet mount. It's not the screw on. The really old lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if it's are your lenses autofocus?
No.
Your old lenses are not autofocus?
No.
Okay, then I'd be looking at something like, oh God, look at this, a Canonet 35 millimeter rangefinder film camera Wow, $159.
He's getting
Actually,
excited about it.
it may not be for sale when you go up there. I'm just saying. Uh, wow,
I'm taking a screenshot.
that's a sweet little camera right there.
So would that take an FD lens? Is that an
No,
FD lens on it?
this is a Canonette. It has a 40 millimeter lens on it. It is a point and
Fixed
shoot,
lens.
fixed lens, point and shoot.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's tested. Hmm.
So you
Yeah,
have FD lenses?
Uh-huh.
Here's an AV1 with a lens for 89. Canon A1 one. Oh wow, Canon A1. Oh God, I remember those cameras. Those
Is that
cameras are so big. They're made out of steel, right? So what's really cool is that you can use them for photography. You can also build a house with them, make a hell of a hammer.
well, you speak of the 35 millimeter f2 lens a lot, and I thought that that might be an FD lens you're speaking of, or is that an
I
EF?
don't know. I don't know if Canon had a.
Yeah, they have one.
Yeah.
Oh, those are more expensive than I
This
want to
is
spend
what's
right now.
happening. I've been telling everybody for 2 years, this is what's happening with used gear. There's a finite supply of it. And everybody
better
knows
ones.
when people want it, the price goes up. $299 though, great lens. Honestly, got a great lens.
So it was FD you were speaking of.
I think so. The FDs, I don't think are autofocus, right?
No, they're not.
Yeah. So this, and yeah, and your camera is an autofocus, right? Oh, you don't have a camera.
I don't have one. I'm gonna be buying one. I'll be finding one to buy.
Yeah.
And I thought, it might even be an opportunity to, oh, I know what you've been talking about is the Canon 35 millimeter f2. I can get a really cheap Canon. I mean, not Canon, Nikon. And, and for really the first time, play around with
Oh
Nikon.
no, if you're going to get it for your Canons, get the Young New. The Young New 35 millimeter f2 is under $100 delivered.
And if it's anything like my Young New 50, it's tack sharp.
Tack sharp. I've got one for my Canon. Tack sharp, tiny, really fast focus, and surprisingly handles flare pretty darn well.
Just YUNG.
YONG GNU.
4 p.m.
I think.
Okay, got it.
YONGNUO.
YONGNUO. Yep.
YONG.
Okay, the FD lenses will not work on the new Canon, so it has to be an FD camera.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up a cheap camera. The cameras are the cheapest part.
Yeah, you'd be looking at Canon FD camera body. And I have rules about eBay, and that is if you can find a 4.5 or 5-star seller, you're okay. You really are. Because for them to maintain a 5-star rating is so hard.
Yeah.
It's brutally difficult to do that. Here's an A1.
Yeah, that's how I collected the ones I've got.
These were amazing cameras. The AE1s, those were the workhorse cameras. And of
you
course,
can use those just mechanically too, right? That you don't have to have. You can take them out without a battery.
The battery only runs the meter.
Ah, okay.
Yep. Look at this. That's an F1 in amazing condition. This is when I walked into the camera store and I was so upset that I did not like the Nikon F4. I just hated it. I just like, ugh, I didn't want it. I was a Nikon shooter. I had F3s. I was ready to move to autofocus. And the guy at the camera store says, well, have you seen the new Canons? And I'm like, no, because I hated this ergonomics. These, it was like squared off and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But then, just like I grew to love the F4 and now own an F4, I grew to love and appreciate this old styling. When you pick this camera up, you mean business with it. It weighs twice what a like a 6D weighs. This is 2 or 3 times more weight. It is a piece
Heavy.
of metal. And
Wow.
one of the best cameras ever made. That's a great price too, Denise, for $239. I'll put it in the chat. I'm not trying to spend your money, dear.
That's okay. I did a screenshot. You don't have to take your time.
Well, I just did, so you're good.
Okay.
There you go. Fun thing. What I've wanted is remember the little Olympus pens?
The clamshell?
The little clamshell Olympus pens? Wait till you see what those things are going for now.
I used to ski with one of those. It was the size of a cigarette pack.
Yep, it was. So if we get down here and find a
That's not what I had. Mine was a little clamshell.
My little black clamshell, you opened it, slid it like this, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the F. That's what I did. Not the F.
No, it's not.
The
I don't even
Olympus
think they
pen.
call it a pen.
What did they call it then? I thought it was a pen. No?
No, it's not a pen, but I just don't remember. I'll find one for next time and just kind of, put it in the Facebook or something.
Well, I was looking at these little clamshell ones because I wanted one. Here we go.
There it is.
The stylus.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, this is one of the newer models.
Oh, okay.
Down in here.
That looks like it.
Two.
That one for 100.
Oh shit, $61. Oh, they're still bidding. Let's go to buy it now. Wow. That's weird. The other day I was on here, they were all like $300. And I was like, yeah, I can't really do $300 for a little Olympus stylus. But this is a very nice. Very nice.
There was a YouTube in the last week or two about film cameras that different photographers in this one studio owned. So they had some medium format, and they had a couple of these cute guys. They took great pictures.
Right now, this is the hottest camera in hipster land right now.
Huh.
The Olympus stylus. Yep. And this has got a zoom on it. The one that I had back in the day didn't have a zoom. It had a 35 millimeter fixed lens.
Yeah, mine didn't have a zoom either.
Yep.
But you could sit on the ski lift and take pictures.
Yeah, you could. You could put it in your shirt pocket. Here we go, $199.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it cost $199 new, if I remember.
Oh no,
right.
I never would have spent that much money on a camera back then.
No, I think they were under $100 because I bought it for my wife. It's just a little carry around pocket camera.
Yep.
Anyway, fun stuff. We ended up talking about cameras anyway, didn't we?
Yeah, I knew we were gonna.
We're all minimalists. Let's go to eBay and find out what we can buy. Yeah.
Well, thanks for diverting to this. I have been
Sure.
putting a lot of thought into lately, getting ready for that project. And then maybe another time, because I don't want to take much more time. You can, as you give us more instructions, you can tell those that don't really know how to get it developed these days, how to get a.
Ooh, that's easy. I used Find Lab. I think it's findlab.com. Filmisnotdeadlab.com. They will develop your roll of 24 or 36 for the same price and scan it for about $16. And the scans are beautiful enough to make an 8x10.
Okay, and then I use Photoshop to make a proof sheet out of
Yeah,
it?
we just make a proof
Oh.
sheet on Photoshop.
Okay, great.
I'm going to go back and look at those Olympus pens again.
You're tempted now.
Those were cool little cameras. I mean, they really
They
were.
were great.
They kind of look like Fuji's in a way, you know,
Hmm.
or Fuji took that styling. Well, anyway, this is a great show, guys. Great show. So I'm going to, any last comments? Everybody, a month from now, that's 4 weeks from this meeting, can have our little books. Can have our little books.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Don.
Thanks, Don.
Everybody have a great one. We'll see you next time.
You too.